Welcome back to Eliances Heroes, where heroes in business align. To be part of our super community and find out more about Eliances, visit www.Eliances.com.
One of the things that I love, by the way, is laughing. I mean, laughing to me and laughter really is the best medicine one can have. And thank you for the feedback we continue to have when I had on Adam Carolla and also to Tom Dreesen from the Rat Pack. So you can go to Eliances.com. That's Eliances.com to hear those past episodes. Because as you know at Eliances, it is the only place where entrepreneurs align. And I'm jumping out of my seat. Why? Because it is about laughter. And we have, are you ready for this? The founder of Comedy Central, Art Bell, who is the author of Constant Comedy. And you could reach him by going to artbellwriter.com, or we're going to talk about his book, which you can also get on at Amazon. Welcome to the show, Art.
Thanks. Great to be here.
I got to tell you, we got to start off. First of all, is this the founder of Comedy Central? I mean, you're an icon. You've provided so much joy to so many people by starting that. Do you ever just look back and just go, wow, this is amazing?
I don't do the wow so much, but I do look back and say, I'm sure glad that's still cooking the way it is and that it's had a great run. So, yeah, I'm very proud.
I mean, you've given them the opportunity, though, for so many comedians to launch their career because of you creating the show.
Yeah, you know what? I couldn't have hoped for anything more from Comedy Central. That was one of the things I was really expecting it to become, which was the center of the comedy universe, where comedians would like to come and hang out, where innovative comedy would be brought, where we could nurture talent, and all that stuff has come true.
And, people think of this and they go, Art, why wasn't something like this created before? And then how did that idea come to you to let's go ahead and let's pitch the idea and then run with it?
Well, I think I was as surprised as anybody else when I came up with the idea that nobody had done it. I just kept waiting. I actually thought of this idea as I was coming out of graduate school because I loved comedy. And I had spent some time in graduate school writing some comedy and performing in a musical comedy. And I thought, it would be really cool to have a channel devoted to comedy. So when I got out of school, I kept looking around at the cable landscape and saying, wait a second, there's an all music channel, there's an all news channel, there's an all sports channel. Why is there not an all comedy channel? I just expected it to show up any minute.
Now, I'm sure during this time you've met a number of different comedians and that. Can you talk to us about maybe some of those stories where they've come on your show and they've become icons in their own because of you?
Well, there's two I talk about in the book, especially. One is Jon Stewart. And of course, icon doesn't go far enough to describe what he is in the world of comedy and in the world of culture. I mean, I think he's a huge part of the United States cultural landscape at this point. Jon Stewart joined us at the time we launched, and that's almost 30 years ago.
Wow.
So when you think of that, it's just incredible. And he was an unknown comic at the time. And when I watched him on television the first time, I thought, wow, this guy's really good. And then I had a couple of interactions with him that reminded me not only was he funny, but he was sensitive and empathic. And he was just a terrific guy, on top of the fact that he was an incredibly good comedian, very funny.
Well, that's amazing. And I want to talk more about your book here because while I may not be the funniest person, I certainly am the best at interviewing as a celebrity heroes host here with me, David Kogan. You can go to Eliances.com. That's Eliances.com to check out past episodes because we have with us the founder of Comedy Central, and you can reach him at artbellwriter.com. He's also the author of Constant Comedy, which you can purchase his book by going to Amazon to get his book. So again, Constant Comedy is what you want to check out. So Art, let's go and let's talk more about this book. What was the inspiration to go ahead and create this?
Well, I had been in the television industry for a long time. A few years ago, I stopped being in the television industry and I started writing. I didn't intend to write a book about anything. I just wanted to write for fun because I always enjoyed it. I took some courses at Sarah Lawrence Writer Institute, which is a terrific place, wrote some memoir. And then one day I wrote a memoir piece about Comedy Central. Previously, I'd been just writing about my childhood, and everybody in my class went, "Wow, that's really cool. We didn't know you did that." And I said, "Yeah." And they said, "Well, write some more." So I did. And after a while, I realized, wow, this really could be a book. And it is my greatest adventure in my career, starting Comedy Central. And the 6 years, 7 years actually, I was there, helping to make that a success. So I finished it up, and there it was.
And talk to us about some of the things people our viewers will get from reading your book. What maybe is there one or two sneak peeks you can tell us about?
Sure. Actually, we started talking about some of the talent that showed up at Comedy Central. One of those was Bill Maher, and Bill Maher, like Jon Stewart, was an unknown comedian when we found him. He was actually substituting for Jon on his show, which was called Short Attention Span Theater. And Bill called and said, you guys don't know me, but I do want to pitch a show to you. So we met him in LA at a diner, and he sat there and pitched a show. And he said, I want to do a show where it's a talk show where guests actually talk. They don't just flap their lips. They don't just talk about stupid stuff, where they actually talk about real issues. And I'm going to get dangerous. I want to make it dangerous, and I'm going to get in trouble, and I want to call it politically incorrect. And that was the start of Bill Maher's career. We said yes to the show immediately, and he started producing it, and the rest is kind of history.
And talk about, comedies now. It seems just with everything, and correct me if I'm wrong, Art, but now people are so sensitive to so many subjects of everything. How do you see the whole comedy area changing with, what comedians can and maybe can't talk about, given the sensitivity of the world right now?
Well, I think there have always been sensitivities in the world as long as there's been comedians. Comedians have always walked up to the line, and they've sometimes crossed the line. I don't think that's going to change much. I will point out that some of the big issues that are considered sensitive issues today were partly brought to the fore by comedians. I mean, the advantage of being a comedian is you're looking at the world through a slightly different lens and presenting it in a different way. The number of women comedians now, compared to the number of women comedians when I was starting out in the television business, many more women comedians. And believe me, they had a role in pointing out what the life of a woman in America was like and pointing out that Me Too was a problem. So let's not discount that part of it.
All right, I want to do some sneaking around your office right now. I see a whole lot of books and stuff of that. So you like to read.
I do like to read.
Let's say, God forbid, there was a fire in your house and you can only pull one of those books and save one of those books. Which book would it be?
I have a book of cartoons that were done by The New Yorker that was autographed by a guy named Bob Mankoff, who was the editorial director of cartoons at The New Yorker for years and years. Very funny guy. And I asked him to autograph it because I happened to meet the guy, and he did a cartoon as the autograph. He didn't just say, best Bob. He said, we don't do signatures, we do cartoons. And he did a completely original cartoon for me in the front of that book. And it's one of my most treasured books. And I have a lot of signed books, I have to say.
Excellent. Art, I need to ask you, because I might have been part of this and stuff like that, but I didn't become a famous comedian. But what advice would you give to the class clowns right now?
Well, I ought to know, because I got thrown out of class plenty of times for cutting up. I did not become a comedian. I think the advice I'd give you is that if you are the class clown, you've got a certain talent that not everybody has. And that's the ability to make people laugh. I would just say, number one, use it wisely. And number two, nurture it in any way you can. Don't be afraid. Either get up there and do some stand-up or do some writing, as I did, or do some sketch comedy in school. There's a million ways to satisfy that urge to disrupt your class that doesn't involve disrupting your class. That's what I would say.
I love it. Awesome. Well, Art, you brought the world of Comedy Central, and now with your book, Constant Comedy, continuing the laughter, because that's really what makes life worth living. That's a hero. Art Bell, author of Constant Comedy and founder of Comedy Central. You can reach him at artbellwriter.com, or of course go to Amazon to get his book, Constant Comedy. This has been David Hogan, and continue to stand by, because later on we've got the celebrity actor who's been in Magnolia, Boogie Nights, Venom, and more. Wait till you see what she's up to. This has been David Hogan with the Eliance Hero Show.